Well, hello and welcome to my first video in the Friant. Um, so my purpose in this was essentially to just try and test it out. Yes, enjoy my jokes about the French oddity. Hello and welcome to another video with me. Wow, that's a terrible French accent. Alright, I'll scrap the accent. Also, sorry if I cough too much, I'm a little ill today. My first impressions were rather, God, I'm hating my own jokes, but, whatever. I didn't think it would be that bad. I thought, okay, it's a light cruiser tier, 3, but it's got super firing turrets, so it won't be too bad. Well, I'll just shut up for now and let you watch the rest of the video before I start making more comments. This DD skipper, though, ooh, if this had been real, I would have bisected his ship properly. Oh well, it's not real. It's just but a video game. Yeah, this was a pretty subpar game, even for my standards. She's a quick cruiser, not surprising for something that's French. I mean, they are built to run away quickly. Yeah, I know, going straight into the jokes, not the most brilliant thing, but hey. Also, I'd like to deeply apologize for the politics as I've showed on screen. I had NyQuil just before I made this video and wasn't in the most, logicals of, the thinkings. So, despite her speed, it felt like the Friant had the turning circle of roughly a Death Star. At least as far as I can tell. She did not like to turn. Until she was well through the turn. Her gun arc felt a little too Clevelandish, and i.e. at long range it took her shells about 3 years to arrive to a target, and, that's a little ridiculous. Yeah, I was not a fan of the Cleveland's ballistic arc. Her HE shells, so at close range, she's a lot more accurate, at least in my, she's a lot more accurate than I would say she is at long range. At long range, I think they messed around with her guns since the first videos put out by Jingles and that lot, showing her guns having extremely high Sigma accuracy. Now it seems like at long range, her guns aren't at all accurate, so maybe I just can't aim. That might also be part of the problem. I do not get as many hits as I would enjoy in this match. But, even when I'm being what I think is relatively accurate, it turns out I'm not. Apparently, some of the shells did hit. I just didn't get the hits I expected, so I retract that statement post commenting wise. Her guns actually, I think, are worse than the Cleveland's in terms of shells taking forever to get to a target. But yeah, I mean, this is what happens when you yeah, you use bread as an AP shell and has the ballistic properties of, some French cheese. It doesn't work well. Honestly, this is one of the least pleasant cruisers I've ever driven in. I've actually, since making this video and having a couple other battles in the Friant, really stopped playing the French line just because it's been so unpleasant. And this is coming from a guy who actually liked the Pensacola that was able to put up with that shite. I really don't enjoy the Friant. I mean, I had a good game in her. I got a little lucky, but maybe it's just it doesn't fit my play style. But yeah, I don't know why that guy in chat is exclaiming that his penis is small, but this is what happens on the weekends when you play with the Wargaming National Reserves or National Guard, I should say. Oh yeah, this meme here. So the first time I brought out the Wargaming National Guard joke, I should clarify, I have nothing against the actual National Guard or the reserves. They do, they get called into a very tough job with not as enough training as they should have. And I respect the actual reserves and National Guard deeply for that issue, thing. I know, they get called into a tough situation to bail out the regular army with, not nearly as much training as the regular army. Or, in the terrible situation, the National Guard will get called in to run a military prison, and they're just not equipped for that job, and it turns into a crap hole like, well, I'm not going to name the specific name of a prison, but y'all probably know what I'm talking about. So, in Wargaming, when I'm talking about the National Guards or Reserves, it's the kids who normally are playing Call of Duty, or at least play games like Call of Duty a lot, and have to steal their parents' credit cards to buy, Turpitzes and the like. And they've become disciples of the lemming train philosophy, which generally ruins gameplay. And sadly, the only time I get to really make videos is on the weekend. So I have to deal with, that lovely bunch of people who completely ruined gameplay. I wouldn't call myself a stat. I don't think stats are the only thing that make a player, but God, I really hate weekend players. Sorry if you are one and you're watching this video, but you may be a good weekend player, you may not be, but most of the time when I play in the weekends, I feel like I'm getting cancer. But yeah, enough ranting from me on that subject. Back to the cruiser. Again, maybe it's the... I don't know, the Friant, I didn't fall in love with it like I did the St. Louis, or, some of the German cruisers at early tier, or even, the only early tier Russian cruiser I really played was the Kirov, but, yeah, I really didn't like this compared to the IGN early cruisers, It felt like, I was just getting a slightly redone version of a early IGN cruiser. Wow, I misspelled French. They're just not a very good ship. I understand that it's supposed to be about speed, but the Japanese cruisers are incredibly quick. Some Russian cruisers can keep up with some destroyers at their tier. And they have better AA ratings than these things. I mean, hell, the Zhao can outpace the, Henry VIII in terms of AA, if I remember my stats correctly. I don't think the French ships are honestly going to be that good. You may find that they're the best thing ever, but then again, you might be a cheese-eating surrender monkey, so what do I know? And yes, I would like to apologize to the nation of France for deeply offending them, but then again, France has done enough to offend me, so yeah, fuck it. You know, actually, I think I enjoyed the Cleveland more than the Friant, and I ranked up entirely through the Cleveland playing co-op, so yeah, that was a more enjoyable experience than playing in the Friant. Ships I've actually enjoyed more than the Friant would include the warship. While I'm trying to lecture you guys on how terrible the French Navy is, I know Jingles fell in love with it, but that's before they really messed around with it. They've ruined the French Navy's sort of selling points. Maybe I just can't aim, maybe I just can't shoot properly, but I don't know, it's not a very good... I did not like them, and I'm usually pretty much able to like anything. And then it was also at this point I realized I was the last guy, because there were some idiots arguing in chat that he was team damaged, even though it wasn't in the recording, or in chat that he was damaged, so I think he just can't tell when he's team damaged or not. You'll see up in here in a moment, so I think, you know, this ship has some of the French cruisers are gonna have terrible AA.
There's something happening.
I think Cancer would be more enjoyable than playing the French cruisers. I was actually worried while playing this match, after and some of the subsequent matches I've played in it, that I was gonna get a call from my doctor telling me I suddenly had prostate cancer from playing the ship. It's that unpleasant. But no, this ship actually held together very well in a very bad situation and continued to fight on, even though it was terribly outnumbered and taking a lot of hits. So, maybe I wasn't playing it right, but I really have not liked some of my subsequent battles in the Friant. This is the best one I've had, and it was mediocre by any standard. Actually, it was probably under mediocre. Again, if you're French and you have any problems with this video and how I've recorded it, please submit them to Charles de Gaulle's in A-Hole Lane, New York. 3725 on that would be the street address. If you're not French and you still have a problem with it, submit them to I Don't Give a Crap. What else? Yeah, just not a very good French cruiser. Maybe it's just because it's the Friant and it's a tier 3 and has to first deal with carriers. But I've looked through the stats, and the French ships are gonna be more vulnerable to AA attack than some of the early British cruisers, and that is disgusting. That is disgusting. But I know it was built to run in the Atlantic, but it's still disgusting. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video and me ranting and hating on France, and that's all for today. It starts when you're always